She knocked. That was the mistake. Not the walking in, but the fact that she knocked at all. Because the door opened, and the man on the other side was already smiling, and Zara knew, in the half-second before his expression changed, that she'd walked into the exact room she'd been paid to find. Stay with this story. What starts as a simple mistake turns into something far more dangerous. If you enjoy tense thriller stories like this, like the video, subscribe and comment below what you think she just walked into. The envelope in her bag felt suddenly very heavy. "You're early," he said. Behind him, two men in suits shifted. Their eyes were already on her, had been on her since before she knocked, tracking her through the hallway via the cameras she'd spotted but pretended not to see. Zara kept her face carefully neutral, tired, apologetic, harmless. "I'm sorry, I think I have the wrong. Do you?" Not a question. She swallowed, recalculated. The blood on his cufflink was fresh enough to still be red at the edges. Whatever was supposed to happen in this room tonight hadn't happened yet, which meant she was either very early or very, very late. The light in the suite was amber, pooled in corners like something liquid. Everything looked expensive. Everything looked deliberate. The kind of room that belonged to someone who understood that atmosphere was a weapon. "Sit down, Zara James." Her blood went cold, not the fear, the recognition. He knew her name, her real name. "Event coordinator from South London," he continued, not looking at her, eyes on his phone. "Moved to Seoul 6 weeks ago. Korean Air, flight 902. You ordered the bibimbap." He glanced up. "How was it?" She didn't sit. "Who sent you my information?" "Nobody sent it. I bought it." He set the phone down. "You're not expensive. 40,000, one for your travel records, another 60 for your work history. Your university transcripts were free, publicly available if you know where to look." The room felt smaller suddenly. The guards felt closer. "What do you want?" she asked. For the first time, his expression shifted. Something like curiosity, something like suspicion. "The same thing you want. To understand why someone paid you 20 million, won to walk into this room tonight." The floor dropped out from under her. She hadn't told anyone about the money. The message had come through an encrypted app 3 days ago. Instructions, simple. Show up to the penthouse suite at the Grand Joseon at 11 p.m. on Tuesday. Knock on the door, walk in, stay for 10 minutes, leave. 10 million won deposited immediately. Another 10 on completion. She'd thought it was strange. She'd thought it might be dangerous. She'd done it anyway because 20 million won was 6 months of rent, and she was tired of being one disaster away from destitution. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said. "Yes, you do." He stood, not quickly, not threateningly, just up. The movement was controlled, precise, like everything else about him. "Someone wanted you here. Someone wanted me to find you here. And I'd very much like to know who benefits from that particular arrangement." He walked toward her, not close, just closer. The amber light caught the side of his face. One side illuminated, the other in shadow. His suit was black, expensive, perfect. His eyes were dark and still and utterly unreadable, and handsome. That detail hit her sideways. Inappropriate, dangerous, entirely irrelevant to the situation, but true nonetheless. The kind of handsome that looked deliberate, like even his genetics had been carefully controlled. "You're Lee Min-jae," she said. "You've done your research." "Not really. Your TED Talk autoplays on the hotel lobby screens. I've seen it 40 times. She finally sat, but not where he'd indicated, on the sofa instead of the chair. Small rebellion. "You talk about trust and disruption for 18 minutes. You don't blink enough. It makes people uncomfortable." His jaw tightened, just barely, just enough. "And you? It makes me think you've practiced that speech in front of a mirror until you could recite it in your sleep. Which means everything you said was a performance." She met his eyes. "Which means I don't know what you actually believe." The silence that followed was different, sharper. The kind of silence that precedes violence or revelation, and you don't know which until it's too late to run. One of the guards shifted. Min-jae raised a hand, barely a movement. The guard stilled. "Most people," Min-jae said slowly, "are afraid of me before they know who I am. Most people probably haven't watched your TED Talk 40 times in a hotel lobby while dealing with drunk wedding guests. And you're not afraid now that you do know." Zara looked at the blood on his cufflink, then back at his face. Her heart was hammering. "I'm terrified, but fear doesn't make you interesting. What you do next does." Something flickered in his eyes, surprise maybe, or something more complicated. His gaze held hers for a beat too long, and Zara felt it in her chest, that pull of mutual recognition. Two people seeing each other clearly for the first time. His phone buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. The moment shattered. Min-jae's expression changed instantly, the curiosity vanishing, replaced by something colder. He glanced at the screen, his jaw tightened. "How long have you been in Seoul?" he asked, voice different now, sharper. 6 weeks, I told you. How long have you been in this hotel?" The shift in his tone made her stomach drop. 3 days. I'm coordinating events here. 3 days. He turned the phone toward her. "Then explain why hotel security footage shows you entering the building every night for the past 2 weeks." The screen showed a woman. Her height, her build, her face. Walking through the lobby at midnight. Every night. For 14 nights. "That's not me," Zara whispered. "I know." He set the phone down with controlled precision. "Which means someone's been impersonating you, establishing a pattern, building a trail." His eyes met hers, and she saw something shift in them, concern, quickly masked. "Making sure that when something happens tonight, you're the one they find." The room felt suddenly airless. One of the guards spoke in rapid Korean. Min-jae answered without looking away from her. "What did he say?" Zara asked. "Building security just went dark, all cameras, all floors." Min-jae stood, and suddenly he was close. Closer than he'd been all night. She could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle. "We're leaving. Now. Wait, you think I—" The lights went out. Not flickering, not gradual, just gone. The amber warmth vanished, replaced by the cold blue glow of the city through the windows. Zara's breath stopped. She heard movement, the guard shifting, something metal clicking, a safety being released. Then a hand closed around her wrist. Warm. Steady. Min-jae's hand. "Don't move," he said quietly. His voice was in her ear now, close enough that she could feel his breath against her skin. "Stay with me." It should have terrified her. Instead, something in her body recognized the touch as anchor, not threat. Emergency lighting kicked in, dim red runners along the baseboards. In the crimson glow, Min-jae was already moving, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Korean. But his hand stayed on her wrist, keeping her close. "What's happening?" Zara asked. He ignored her, listened. His expression darkened. His thumb moved, just once, just barely, against the inside of her wrist, a gesture so small she almost missed it. Reassurance or reflex she couldn't tell. "Is it them?" one guard asked in English, probably for her benefit. "No," Min-jae pocketed his phone. His hand slid from her wrist to her hand, fingers threading through hers. The gesture was efficient, practical, keeping track of her in the dark. But it felt like something else. It's building maintenance, scheduled power transition to backup generators. He looked at Zara. Scheduled for 2 a.m., it's 11:17. So someone changed the schedule, she said. Someone with access to building systems. Someone who knows I'm here. He gestured sharply with his free hand. Check her bag, everything, now. His grip on her other hand tightened slightly. Not restraint. Something closer to apology. One of the guards moved toward her. Zara held up her free hand. Wait, what are you looking for? Proof, Min-jae said. One way or another. The guard unzipped her bag methodically. Pulled out her phone, her wallet, her keys, a half-empty water bottle, event coordination clipboard, and then his hand paused. Left interior pocket. He pulled out something small, matte black, unmarked. Zara had never seen it before in her life. What is this? Her voice didn't sound like her own. The moment the guard's fingers touched it, Min-jae's phone erupted, not vibrating but screaming. An alarm, high-pitched, insistent. Min-jae's hand tore from hers. Both guards drew weapons. Don't move! Min-jae's voice cracked like a whip. Not at her, at the guards. He was staring at his phone, face gone completely white. What? Zara started. It's transmitting. His voice was barely controlled. The drive. It started transmitting the second he touched it. The guard dropped it like it had burned him. Transmitting what? To who? Min-jae was already moving, pulling a handkerchief from his pocket, using it to pick up the drive without direct contact. He held it up to the emergency light. There, almost invisible, a hairline seam. It's not a storage drive, it's a beacon. He looked at her, and for the first time since she'd entered the room, she saw something like fear in his eyes. Real fear? For her. They know exactly where we are. They've known since the moment you walked in. As if on cue, his phone lit up with a notification. Incoming. Encrypted. Message from unknown. Min-jae opened it, read it. His face became a mask. He turned the phone toward her. The message was simple. She stays. You run, or everyone in the building dies. You have 3 minutes to decide. Below it, a photo, the hotel lobby, crowds of people. Ordinary guests, families, children. And in the corner, barely visible, a man in a maintenance uniform, hand resting on something in his jacket. A timer appeared on screen, 2:59, 2:58, 2:57. We have to evacuate, Zara started. There's no time. Fire alarm takes 4 minutes to clear this many floors. Min-jae's voice was hollow. They know that. They've planned for that. 2:51, 2:50. So what do we do? Min-jae looked at her, then at the door, then back at her. I decide if you're worth 200 lives? The words should have terrified her. Instead, something else kicked in. The same instinct that had kept her moving through a childhood where standing still meant becoming a target. 2:42, 2:41. You're not deciding anything, Zara said, voice steadier than she felt. Because I'm not staying here like some sacrificial lamb while you play hero. Something flickered across his face, almost like relief. What if we give them what they want? She continued. Me, but not here, not on their terms. She grabbed her bag. They're tracking this drive, so let's take it somewhere else. Lead them away from the building. Min-jae stared at her. You want to use yourself as bait. I want to buy 200 people an extra 3 minutes. 2:26, 2:25. You understand that if we leave, they'll follow. They'll corner us. And they will have significantly fewer moral complications about collateral damage in a parking garage than in a hotel lobby. I understand. You understand you'll probably die. She stepped closer to him, close enough that the red emergency light painted both their faces the same color, close enough that she could see the war happening behind his eyes, calculation versus something more human. I understand you're wasting time trying to protect me when you should be trusting me to protect myself. 214, 213. His expression cracked. Just slightly. You're either very brave or, don't finish that sentence. She reached out, grabbed his hand, the same hand that had held hers moments ago. Just move. Something shifted in his face. A decision made. He turned to the guards, spoke in Korean, fast, decisive. One of them immediately pulled out his phone, started typing. The other moved to the door. Min-jae's hand tightened around hers. Service elevator, stay close to me. They ran. The hallway was still bathed in emergency red. Their footsteps echoed on marble. Min-jae didn't let go of her hand. Even when they turned corners, even when they had to move single file, his fingers stayed locked with hers like he was afraid she'd disappear if he released her. 147. 146. They hit the service elevator. Min-jae swiped a card. Nothing happened. He swiped again. Still nothing. They've locked it down. His voice was tight. 131. 130. Stairs, Zara said. 40 floors. You have a better idea? They ran for the stairwell. The door was heavy, industrial. Min-jae yanked it open and they plunged into concrete and fluorescent tubes. Down, down, down. Zara's lungs were burning. Her legs were screaming. Min-jae stayed half a step ahead, pulling her along, and she realized he'd adjusted his pace to match hers. Fast enough to matter, slow enough that she could keep up. 112. 111. Min-jae's phone rang. He answered without stopping, listened, spoke 2 words in Korean, hung up. What? Zara asked between breaths. They're evacuating. Fire alarm triggered. People are moving. That's good, unless whoever set the bomb sees the evacuation and detonates early. 058. 057. They hit the underground parking level. Min-jae kicked the door open. The space was massive. Concrete pillars, fluorescent lights, the smell of oil and exhaust. Their car was waiting, engine already running, driver at the wheel. They were 10 feet from it when the shooting started. Zara didn't hear the first shot. Just felt Min-jae's body slam into hers, taking her to the ground, his weight covering her completely. The second shot pinged off the pillar 6 inches from her head. 044. 043. Stay down! Min-jae had positioned himself above her, shielding her with his own body. His gun was out now, returning fire. The sound was deafening. Zara's face was pressed against his chest. She could feel his heartbeat, fast, controlled, could smell gunpowder and cologne and fear. I need you to move when I say move, he said into her ear. Can you do that? She nodded against him. More gunshots. The car's windshield exploded. 031. 030. How many? Zara asked. 3, maybe 4. He fired twice more. They're between us and the exit. The beacon, if we leave it, they'll still detonate. Loose ends. His free hand came up, cupped the back of her head. The gesture was protective, instinctive. Listen to me. When I move, you run for that car. Don't stop. Don't look back. 019. 018. What about you? I'll be right behind you. He was lying. She could feel it in the way his hand pressed against her skull, like he was trying to memorize the shape of her. No, she said. Zara, no, different plan. She pushed against his chest. Give me the gun. What? Give me the gun and your phone. 012, 011. He pulled back enough to look at her face. Their eyes met. Something passed between them, understanding, recognition, the acknowledgement that they were both about to do something stupid and neither was going to stop the other. If you die, he said quietly, I'm going to be very angry. If you die, she countered, I'm going to be furious. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. He handed her the weapon. 007, 006. She stood up. Min-jae grabbed for her, but she was already moving, stepping out from behind the pillar with her hands up, gun held loosely in her right hand. I'm the one you want, she shouted. I have the beacon. Let him go and you can have it. The shooting stopped. 003, 002. 3 men stepped out from behind vehicles, weapons trained on her. Put down the gun. Kick it toward us. Zara looked at Min-jae's phone in her left hand, at the timer, 0 minutes 1 second. She smiled, and threw the phone, with the beacon still attached, as hard as she could toward the exit ramp. The men's eyes followed it, just for a second. Min-jae moved. The last thing Zara saw before he yanked her back behind the pillar was the phone skittering across concrete. 00:00. Nothing happened. Min-jae's arms were around her, tight, possessive, shaking slightly. His face was buried in her hair. It was a bluff, he said against her temple. They never had a bomb. Zara's legs gave out. They slid down the pillar together, him still holding her. They just needed us running, he continued, panicked, making mistakes. Did it work? Zara asked. He pulled back enough to look at her face. His hand came up, brushed hair from her eyes. The gesture was gentle, at odds with everything else happening around them. You tell me. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. Min-jae's thumb traced her cheekbone once. Then he stood, pulling her up with him. We need to leave. Different car, different exit. He paused. If you still trust me. Zara looked at him, at the man who'd covered her body with his own, who'd handed her a weapon when she asked, who was touching her face like she was something precious in the middle of a parking garage firefight. I don't trust you, she said honestly. But I don't trust whoever set this up more. His hand found hers again. Good enough. They ran. The safe house was in Itaewon, tucked behind a restaurant that had been closed for renovations for 18 months. Min-jae led her through corridors and down staircases, his hand never leaving hers until they reached a heavy metal door. It locked behind them with a sound like finality. The space was concrete and fluorescent, and nothing like the hotel suite. Min-jae's guard nodded and left, and suddenly they were alone for the first time since the shooting stopped. Zara's adrenaline was crashing. She could feel it, her hands starting to shake, her breath coming uneven. Min-jae saw it. Sit down before you fall down. She sat. He disappeared through a door, came back with water and a first aid kit. You're bleeding, he said. What? He knelt in front of her, touched her temple gently. His fingers came away red. Concrete, from the pillar. I didn't even feel it. You will. He opened the kit, pulled out antiseptic. This is going to sting. It did. She hissed. Sorry, he murmured. His touch was careful, precise. The same hands that had fired a gun minutes ago were now cleaning her wound with almost clinical gentleness. Zara watched his face. This close, she could see the details. The faint scar above his eyebrow, the shadows under his eyes, the way his jaw tightened with concentration. You covered me, she said quietly. His hands paused, just for a second. In the parking garage, you covered me with your body. Yes. You could have died. Yes. Why? He finished cleaning the wound, applied a bandage, but he didn't pull away. His hands rested on her knees, and he looked up at her from where he knelt. I don't know, he said. And for the first time since she'd met him, she heard something raw in his voice, something unplanned. I don't know. I should have made a different tactical choice. Should have assessed the angles better, should have... He stopped. His hands tightened slightly on her knees. But I saw them shooting, and I saw you, and I didn't think. I just moved. Zara's breath caught. That's not like you, she said. No, it's not. The air between them felt charged, heavy with something neither of them was naming. Zara, he said, just her name. But the way he said it, like a question, like a confession, like something he'd been holding back and couldn't hold back anymore. She leaned forward, just slightly, just enough. His hand came up, cupped her face. His thumb brushed her cheek. This is a terrible idea, he said quietly. Probably the worst we've had all night. We're in danger. We're being hunted. We barely know each other. I know. She could feel his breath on her lips. I know all of that. And I'm tired of only making safe choices. He kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't slow. It was desperate and urgent and tasted like adrenaline and fear and something neither of them wanted to examine too closely. His hand slid into her hair. Her fingers curled into his shirt. The world narrowed to just this. His mouth on hers, his body warm and solid and here, and for just a moment nothing else existed. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Min-jae rested his forehead against hers. We should stop, he said. We should. Neither of them moved. They think you're dead, he said after a long moment. The news is reporting that you died in an explosion. We have maybe 12 hours before they realize their mistake. 12 hours to do what? He pulled back, looked at her. His eyes were dark and serious and still holding something she couldn't name. To make them wish they'd never heard your name. They have 12 hours before the hunt begins again. Subscribe to continue the story, like the video to support the channel, and comment below. Do you trust Min-jae, or is he hiding something?